The Samurai Code was never this sexy. Samurai Girls review. Let's go. So hey, what's up guys? The Insane Gamefreak here to bring you another anime review, and it is of Samurai Girls. Also, for anyone who wants to know, that tagline that I said at the beginning is actually on the back of the DVD. So yeah. So anyway, Samurai Girls is a 12-episode series that was dubbed and sent out by Sentai Filmworks. You know, the same people who brought you such classics as High School of the Dead and other things. No, I'm just fucking around. They also did they're also subbing Game Time and subbing iShow 21 for anyone who gives a shit. But anyways, to give you quick initial thoughts before I get into the full review, it's gonna be one of those harems. It's a harem ecchi shonen-ish kind of stuff, sinning, I guess. And it's one of those. It's weird. I feel like this is the closest I've watched to Ikki Tosen and Queen's Blade without actually watching Ikki Tosen and the Queen's Blade, but not in every bad way, but just in different ways. So let me explain what the whole plot line of it is. The story revolves around this guy named Munakira Yagu, who is like the samurai visiting this samurai school because a friend invited them there. Essentially, when he gets to the dojo, he runs into two females, Yukimura and Matabe. These are not his friend. It's just these two people they ended up running in. It seems like these two were actually wanted by the school security, but he's not aware of this at the time, so he gets caught up in it, and they're now running. They're all three of them running away from the school security. Once they're cornered by a character you're gonna see later, you're gonna keep seeing in the series, Hanzo, who's dressed like a fucking maid, and she's the leader of the whole school security and everything. So they corner them. It's like, oh shit, we're screwed. And then all of a sudden, a random light comes out of nowhere, and a naked girl falls from the sky. And as soon as they fall, she kisses him. He all of a sudden can't move because these invisible chains are wrapped around him, and she proceeds to kick Hanzo's ass. Essentially, the best way to explain this series is essentially, the series isn't a stereotypical harem where it's actually very simple. It doesn't really have a simple premise. I guess the best way to explain the premise is essentially, we're dealing in a time of samurai and Edo, and like, apparently what is going on is essentially the number of samurais declined, the number of like a true samurais are showing up in terms of women, and they don't know what the fuck is going on top of this thing called the Shadow of Japan, which you'll find out later what that's about, and also a plot twist that involves that. But that's really the main premise of the beginning of the damn series. So as I've explained, you have, you know, Yagu, Hanzo, Yukimura, Matabe. The girl who actually falls down is also the ditz of the group, which I'll just say her name is Jubei. You have the friend, Sin, and I believe those are really the main ones you need to deal with at the beginning. It's kind of weird because the series has this really weird way of like going from goofy, normal harem stuff to like dark, serious shit, and it happens like almost exactly at the halfway point of the series. Because essentially, these characters are all living in the dojo, but it's due to a whole bunch of pointless circumstances revolving around the school and the fucking vice president and the president and shit of the student council. Which also, it is a samurai-ish school, but you never see you never see like other school students. Like you really never until like near the end, and it doesn't even feel like a school at that point. It's just like, what the fuck? This feels like an army. So it's kind of hard to explain, but they're just all living under this dojo, and there are a couple other characters that get thrown in later, but I'm not going to talk about them because that goes into actually plot spoilery stuff, so I'm not going to mention those. But to go through the character rundown in terms of like attitudes, Jubei at the beginning of the series the naked girl that falls from the sky tells Yagu that she's also a fellow Yagu, and it's like, we're brother and sister. So the entirety of the series, she calls him Big Brother. Now, the thing with Jubei that really kind of irked me at the beginning of the series is because Jubei, the thing is, to create like a true samurai, you have to have a general, which which is like, I guess, the man in charge, and you have to make a pact with the samurai, which is usually a girl. It's like a man and woman thing. It's kind of like the whole Sekirei shit. Just think of it as Sekirei and Ashikabi to, you know, general and true samurai. So, it's formed with a kiss, but it's not normally like that. And what we find out is Munikira has this ability, but he wasn't aware of it at the beginning. He becomes aware of it later. That all he has to do is kiss the girl and she'll become a true samurai. And he does this with, it's not really a secret, he does this with Yukimura, Sin, and Jubei. Those are the three ones he does it with. And as far as his personality goes, he acts like, for the most part, he acts like a true samurai. Even though he barely gets to do anything, which I think just becomes a staple in the harem series, that the main character is not allowed to do anything. So he has this true samurai stuff, and I actually enjoy that about him. He actually has a backbone, even though he still gets thrown into the same harem situations like every other harem main character is. And he also has this funny thing he only does for the first few episodes, where when he sees like a naked girl, he turns around and he starts like praying and chanting about, it's like pretty much to stray away from the path of pervertedness, essentially. Even though they only lasted for a few episodes, which is actually kind of sad because I thought it was pretty funny. Anyway, you have Sin, who is the actual child friend, and there's your typical tsundere. Yukimura, who is your lolly, and Matabe is her like servant girl, and Hanzo is Sin's servant girl. Hanzo is like a typical creepy, nerdy, like masochist maid, I guess is the best way to put it. Matabe is kind of like your quiet, cute kind of chick. I actually like her because she like to play this big sister role, and if you're in certain episodes I actually enjoy. Jubei is your ditz. But also has a split personality, like it seems like every fucking ditzy main female character seems to have. Don't know why that's such a staple in harems or in animes in general. But yeah, she has a split personality. With the other girls, they don't switch personalities when they kiss. But for a reason, Jubei, because she doesn't have any memory of anything, so I guess when she kisses, she goes into her like hardcore serious mode, and this is when the personality switches. And it's really ambiguous because when you first see her, she comes off as a bad guy when she's in that mode, and then later you find out other things. You also find out about her past and a lot of other shit. That's really the main line down of the cast, essentially. So they're living in this dojo, they're trying to figure out the Shadow of Evil crap, which is what Yukimura and Matabe came there to tell Sin about. And that's essentially the premise. It's actually a little bit more complicated than that the further you go into the series, which is the one thing about this series. The series is 12 episodes, and manages to get really dark really quick, and it really threw me off. And it kind of throws off the pacing of it to me personally. Like, I'll put it this way, it's an enjoyable series, but you're really just going to be like, wow, this switched kind of randomly. Also, certain characters do certain things that come out that don't fit with their mindsets in certain points later in the series, and it kind of threw me off. Especially the main character, he does that, and I was like, what the fuck? It kind of threw me off. I mean, the series isn't bad. I'll put it that way. The series isn't bad. The series was enjoyable. I actually didn't mind the switch in plot. It just threw me out of the pacing for a while. The other thing about the series that a lot of people aren't going to like is the art style is really kind of weird. It's like this inking kind of art style where they seem to use ink a lot to like wipe on the screen when it's raining, to do transitions to different places or to jump ahead in time, and it's really weird, and it's like this weird blurry-ish effect on the damn screen, and you think there's something wrong with your screen, but it's not. I heard a lot of people had an issue with that, and I did too. Like when I watched the first episode, I was like, Jesus, what the fuck am I looking at? Because it comes out of nowhere. It's not a bad series. I mean, it didn't take that long to get into it. Like, I think after the first episode, it didn't really bug me as much. It bugged me in certain points, but it never took me out of the story. And surprisingly, this series has a story. Now, to go into explain what I was talking about, the whole Ikitos and Queensblade thing, it has that, like, fan service. Like, it has a decent amount of fan service, but it has, like, a dark plot, like Ikitos supposedly has, and Queenblade supposedly has, but it didn't piss me off because this series knew when to like stop. Like, the series has a decent amount of fan service, but a lot of it gets taken out of it because there's other things that on your mind during the series. So it's like, oh, ass shot shit. Like, and it's even so bad that I feel like the series they had to force edgy shots in here because there's not as much as I would have expected from the title like this. And on top of that, it's like they had to force in scenes because they couldn't, because they had, this thing was actually fairly plot driven for like the second half. So the second half barely has any fan service in it. And it's really weird because even in the fucking last episode, they actually had to force a random scene in there. Because they really, I feel like they really were just like, yeah, this is a little too tight. We need to like they had, like, it felt like they had to force edgy scenes in there just for it to work. Also, for anyone who wants to get the DVD, since I actually put in a lot of bonus material for once, the DVD actually has 3 discs, even though the series is only on the first 2. The third disc is full of a whole bunch of bonus material, like mini stories, narrated comics, the Japanese TV promotion for the damn series, on top of the endings and, you know, closings and whatnot. Now, if you were into this series for the fun and the plot, that shit's not gonna really matter to you because it's more for people who want to fap to it. So I kind of found the last disc kind of pointless for me personally. I mean, I know people who would fap to this shit, so I'm, you know, for the fappers, there's your little extra bonus. But for me, I'm just like, whatever. Also, the fact that some of the short stories aren't, like, the short stories aren't even in English. Like, they translated the series, but they didn't translate the bonus stuff. I was like, why didn't you translate the bonus stuff? It's not even like the bonus stuff was long. The bonus stuff wasn't even that long. It was like, I think each of them were like a minute or 2 minute increments. I was like, fuck, just translate it. Because they're like animated scenes. I was like, just translate it. It's like, nah, we're not going to translate it. So, there's no English dub for that. Also, to talk about the English dub real quick, the English dub is actually fairly good. I had no real problems with the English dub. Like, the English dub was enjoyable. There was nothing purely wrong with the English dub I can think of. Like, the English dub was fine. I had no real issue with it. It still has that hint, that Sentai feel that I'm calling it now, where it feels like it should be off, but it's not. And if you'll get a weird feeling, like, Sentai dubs have that weird feeling with me where they kind of sound off, but they're not. I still don't know what that's about, but whatever. But I guess final thoughts for the series is that while it did get serious, and I was actually glad the plot changed a little bit, I felt like the funness out of that series is the thing that kind of suffers the most. And not to say that the series doesn't have its fun moments. I mean, the plot portion I had no really issue with. It actually managed to get me riled up, which is weird because I'm a guy and it's harem. And I didn't get riled up for the fans, I actually got riled up for the plot. And I was like, alright. So I gave it points in the plot. I feel like it wasn't enjoyable in terms of the characters. Like, I liked the characters, but I felt like there wasn't enough development on the characters. Because it wasn't like other harems where the girls couldn't admit their feelings. No, it was like the girls, like, kissed him within, like, the first 6 episodes. So I was like, Jesus. Like, there was no real, like, character development after those first 6 episodes. Like, they took, oh, no, that's a lie. There kind of is, but I feel like the characters themselves kind of suffer for the sake of the plot. But I feel like the character development they did do for the characters did enough that the plot didn't piss you off. Because I had no issue with the plot. Like, even the ending, I have no problem with the ending of the series. Not really. There's really no issue I had. I feel like certain characters aren't really developed as much. I feel like it's an okay series. Like, I don't have anything truly positive to say about it. But at the same time, I don't have anything really negative to say about it either. Like, it's okay. It's legitimately okay. Like, if I had to put this somewhere on the list between 1 and 10, 5 being average and not shitty, it's like a 5 in that sense. Now, we're talking about my ratings, where I kind of think anything below a 7 is shitty. I probably put it at a 7. I put it at 7. It's an average series. It's fine. It's okay. I'm not really, yeah, Samurai Girls, hope there's season 2 shit. But at the same time, I'm like, damn, fuck this show. Like, it was enjoyable. I'll put it that way. It's okay. It's legitimately in the middle. It's okay. I can't really, I don't know why, but it never took me one way or the other. It kind of went from okay to really good near the ending. Because they kind of focused on Jubei's development. Because, like, surprisingly, they didn't focus on Jubei that much after a certain point. I was like, wow, this is weird. You know, and the comedy is actually pretty funny. In terms of a review for Samurai Girls, it's an okay series. There's nothing horrible about it. There's nothing, like, necessarily good about it. It's just okay. It has its good points, it has its bad points. Its bad points is that some of the characters, to me, I don't feel like they focus on the characters a little bit. And not enough for me. For my taste, not enough. But they focused on it enough so the plot doesn't suffer for it. But the series itself would suffer for it because, certain characters, I feel like I should. I usually complain about certain animes for dragging out this kind of shit, but getting everything done in 6 or 7 episodes, which is like half the series, I guess is understandable considering how short the series is. But to me, I was just like, yeah, I kind of wanted a little bit more. But and the good points is that it was actually pretty funny. The plot was fairly entertaining, and I enjoyed it for the most part. So I'll give it an okay rating. So if you want to buy it, link in the description. Technically, I don't know when I post this review, I don't know if it'll actually be out on DVD yet, because technically I got it early, and this review might be early, so we'll see. But anyways, if you like this video, like it. If you want to favorite it, favorite it. If you want to comment. Don't remember. If you want to join the fan page, it's down there. Skype name is down there. Email me at the email address down there. You know, all the fun shit, the usual. So I guess the Samurai Code has never been this sexy, I guess. And life's a game, play to win, and I'll catch you guys for the next review. Peace.